Looks like there might be some hope left for those wanting a sequel to the 2012 action film Dredd. At a recent convention, Dredd star Karl Urban told the audience that there have been conversations between Lionsgate Studio and screenwriter Alex Garland about a possible sequel. John, buy or sell that we'll actually see a Dredd 2?
I'm going to sell it. I mean, look, first of all, I'm one of the guys who unabashedly, unashamedly loved Dredd. I thought that movie was just flat out awesome. Let me just dispel a myth right now. A lot of people saying, Dredd was the Raid ripoff. They were actually in production at the same time. One was never a ripoff of the other. But the fact of the matter is this. The production budget alone, without marketing, without anything like that, was $50 million.
Did you say 50?
50.
15.
50. 50.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
And I thought it was lower than that. My bad.
It's 50, and it made like 32 million worldwide. So, and then you got to take out of that producers' points, you got to take out of that film exhibitors, so the studio probably ended up with 20 million bucks. They probably took about a 40, 50, 60 million dollar bath. But I did say this. Somebody asked me on Mailbag a few weeks ago, why is it some films that lose money can get sequels? And that will happen. What I said at the time was, if a studio really feels that their movie was so good and enough audiences really loved it that while initially it didn't get the first push, and let's face it, the marketing for Dredd was awful.
Yeah.
It was terrible trailers and everything like that. So nobody had any clue how good that movie was going to be. I could see Lionsgate sitting in a room somewhere and having some executive meetings saying, you know what, everybody who did see it loved it. It got really good positive word of mouth, too little too late. But maybe there's a shot at Dredd 2, but I don't think so. And yeah, I don't doubt Karl Urban when he says conversations have gone between Garland and the studio. But guess what? For every 100 of those types of conversations, maybe 1 or 2 of those movies get made. So it doesn't really mean anything. But Steve, you've got some insight onto this. So how do you see this?
I have a lot on this one. So here we go. I think the budget on Dredd was closer to 15 million, not 50. I think that the 50 number is wrong. I think the big problem here is that, from what I understand, I want to quote this. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Dredd was sold around the world to different territories to different film companies.
Right.
Lionsgate had domestic. So basically, from what I understand, if they were to make a sequel, all the people that paid for it around the world would have to be involved in the sequel. So Lionsgate only has US rights. From what I understand, if Lionsgate was going to make a Dredd sequel, they could only release it in America. Like, they couldn't even release it around the world. And that worldwide gross is reflective of all these different film companies. So
right.
I think that, again, pretty sure that the holdup is that they would have to align all the different territories that paid for the movie to be cool with doing it again. There's something about this that I'm not 100% on, but that's a major holdup, is that the rights are now diversified to all these different parties. And to make a sequel is going to be really tough. Like you, I thought the first Dredd, or I thought Dredd was fantastic. I know you loved it too. It came out the same weekend as End of Watch, and End of Watch ended up clobbering it. And I don't know if you guys remember that, but there was a lot of buzz on End of Watch. But ultimately, I think that there might be a lot of conversations. And I've sent some emails this morning, actually, to try to clarify exactly what's going on and to try to find out the exact stuff of what can happen with a Dredd sequel. But I'm 99.9% certain we're never going to see one.
Yeah, and it should be pointed out, too, that it's not unusual for, like, for instance, that Point Break remake, right? They just took it to the American film market before shooting one frame to market off the international distribution rights. So it's not uncommon for one company to have the distribution rights in North America, one company to have the distribution rights in Poland, one company to have the distribution rights in Germany. So that's not really unusual. And, like, for Point Break, I know they said the American film market, they were flooded with offers. So they snapped up, the international rights to that got snapped up in total. But it's something you got to keep in mind when thinking about how you move forward.
Well, Frosty, I'm going to be the 1%. I'm buying this Dredd 2. Someone must make it. Raise the money. Because I demand not only a Dredd 2, I demand a Dredd 3. It should happen. They could do it for cheaper than $10 million. You got Karl Urban. I mean, go to Detroit. I keep saying this. In Detroit, you could blow up buildings for $5,000. You could own a block for 30 grand. I'm just saying that would help Detroit.
I want to say I would love a Dredd sequel.
All of us want a Dredd sequel. That movie was great.
I would love it. And what's funny is if you go online, there's not anyone who's saying I don't want one. Everyone's saying they want one because the people that have seen the movie know how awesome it is.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre how good that movie was.
I think also word of mouth, because of all the people, like I'm one of those guys who saw it 2 days before it left the theater because I was just not sold on the posters or the trailers, but I was like, I love Judge Dredd. I think Karl Urban's a good actor. Lena Headey's a great actress. I want to check it out. Some of the slow-mo stuff looked cool in the trailer. I'm going to check it out. Saw it in 3D, mind blown. Could not tell enough of my friends, you must go see this tomorrow.
It was too late.
Luckily, no, I got about 10 of my friends to actually go see it, and they loved it, but 10 friends doesn't mean nothing. So now that everyone knows how good this new Dredd is, I think word of mouth with Dredd 2, people are like, we're not going to mess this up this time, is my hope.
Yeah. Well, and here's the funny thing. I think you were with me when we screened this at Comic-Con a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Karl Urban was going to be on our Masters of the Web panel. So the studio got me to host this screening, the first screening at Comic-Con of Dredd. And I was going to host it and everything, and Karl was going to be on our panel the next day. And I secretly still thought the movie was going to suck. I thought this is going to be awful. And I'm trying to think, how am I going to introduce it, and how am I going to hype this movie up tomorrow that I know is total crap and all this kind of stuff. And so then I'm sitting in the chair and watching the movie, and I don't know why. I thought it was a PG film. I didn't realize it was rated R. So I'm sitting there in the theater the first time at Comic-Con, and they start playing it, and that first scene when that dude got hit by the van and his bloody body just explodes, I'm like, whoa, I don't think this is PG. And then it went on. Love this movie.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to AMC Movie News on YouTube. It's free and a great way to stay updated with all the latest movie news and check out our daily show, AMC Movie Talk. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay in the loop for our special prizes, giveaways, and contests.